Linton Leadership and Management Consulting is a veteran-owned and operated consulting company based out of Sevierville, Tennessee, with a local, national, and global reach. At Linton Leadership and Management Consulting, we provide leadership, human performance, and management consulting services, as well as coaching to companies of any size on methods to improve performance in their organizations. One-on-one coaching and mentoring is available to all individuals at any level of your organization. Additionally, large and small group seminars can be conducted. In these seminars, information on leadership tactics and techniques is shared, best practices discussed, and team building exercises are conducted, all of which serve to highlight methods on ways to increase the team's and the individual's performance. You can email the show to get the conversation started on exploring ways that we can work together to improve your team's performance. A significant discount will be offered to any Sevier County, Tennessee businesses. Welcome to the weekend update for Liberty, Leadership, and Lies with Larry Linton. Before we get into the update, I would like to take a moment to recognize the 20th anniversary of the event that changed our nation. Terrorism reared its ugly head on our own soil, killing thousands of Americans. Do you remember where you were that day? I surely do. The events of that day are seared into my brain forever. I was stationed on board the fast attack submarine USS Hampton, and we were getting underway that morning. By the time we cast off all lines and shore connections, which included television, the only reports we had received were that a small plane had crashed into one of the towers. It was much later that evening that the entire crew received the news from back home. Saddened, shocked, yet we were resolved to bring the fight to whatever enemy had just attacked us. Now, 20 years later, and we are back in the same position as before the attacks had happened in our country. So I'd like to pause for a moment of silence to remember those that died on that day, and for the many service members that have died in the conflicts around the world fighting the scourge of terrorism. Thank you. Well, local news, the campaign is up and running. I will keep you all updated on my campaign, its happenings, and any events. If you have a chance, you can go ahead and search Facebook for Larry Linton for TN12 and like and follow the page. If I do win this election, which I plan on doing, I also plan on keeping this podcast going as a means of communicating with the great people of Sevier County and all Tennesseans, as well as other listeners all over the country and around the world. Also in the local events, Sevier County residents are encouraged to join other patriots this Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Smoky Mountain Opry in Pigeon Forge. Join us to stand up and honor our recently fallen service members, our veterans and current military, but more importantly, stand up for our freedom. I hope to see as many of you there as possible. State news ties in with national this week. Most of you know the usurper announced some new, completely unconstitutional mandates with regard to COVID. Understand this before I play some of the interesting sound bites from his speech. The President of the United States, installed or elected, does not make law. Not only does requiring a vaccine fall outside of the bounds of Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, those pesky enumerated powers, Article 2 of the Constitution, which covers the presidency or the executive branch, does not grant the president any authority to do the same. So, just say no and find a good attorney that is willing to take on this constitutional fight. Make it painful for anybody to use the failed Nuremberg trial defense of, I was just following orders. And we'll cover some of that this Wednesday when we're talking about liberty. So here are some of the more interesting statements made by the puppet usurper-in-chief.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. This is totally unacceptable. The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Get a load of that. Who is pulling that dementia-riddled child sniffer strings? Blatantly unconstitutional orders that a sane elected official in our country would never utter. It's not about freedom, spoken by the supposedly elected leader of the free world. Oh, what was that about protecting the vaccinated from the unvaccinated? Sounds like the usurper admitted on national television that the vaccine isn't very effective. What do you think? So let's just let them keep talking. They always reveal themselves, these usurpers of liberty. Anyway, how does this tie into the state? Well, Governor Lee released his official statement in response to hairy-legged Biden's tyrannical decree. He stated that he will stand up for all Tennesseans. I will just say this. We will see what we will see. Governor Lee doesn't have a particularly stellar record for standing up for Tennesseans against the federal government on the COVID front as well as the illegal immigration front. For him to stand up for us, he has to put his mouth where his money isn't. We all know that our senators in the General Assembly are feckless and without a backbone, as well as some members of the House, and are holding back the true freedom fighters in our General Assembly. Those are the trans-publicans. It's also another reason why I will be running as an independent during the next election cycle. To borrow a phrase from the great Ronald Reagan, I didn't leave the Republican Party. They left me. Until next week, this has been the weekend update of Liberty, Leadership, and Lies with Larry Linton. I pray you all have a wonderful weekend. Stand in the arena with me. Reveille, it's time to wake up.